What skills, traits, and characteristics are critical for today's student? That's the question the Green Bay Area Public School District set off to identify a few months ago. This week, it unveiled the portrait of a graduate. The district began seeking input from students, staff, and community members about 5 months ago, holding events like you see here, asking people what qualities are important to them. The goal, to develop a profile of what each student should obtain by the time they graduate from the district. Things like academics, communication, and personal responsibility are on that list. David Johns, Associate Superintendent for Continuous Improvement for the Green Bay Area Public School District. Did I get that right?
Absolutely.
Okay, he's joining us now to talk a little bit more about this portrait of a graduate. So take us back 5 months ago.
Yeah.
How did this all come about?
Yeah, boy, this has been a really exciting journey. And you're right, it goes back into the summer. Thinking about this idea of a graduate, there's a very basic way we can think about it. And we can say, did you earn enough credits to be able to walk across the stage and be handed a diploma? Every district in their own way answers that question. There is an opportunity when we think about what is the world we're sending our students out into to go deeper than simply saying the number of credits you need to graduate. And so I guess it's been an ongoing conversation, but we really focused that conversation and turned it outward to our community starting in July, saying beyond just the credits, who are the people that we should be developing? What does this community need? What does the world need? And how could we be more intentional in our schools to develop that type of student? So in July, we began that process and we brought community groups together just to open up with that question. From that, we generated a smaller group that was very interested in rolling up their sleeves and being a part of helping us design the survey. Yeah, being present and standing side by side with us in community spaces.
It's interesting that you didn't just develop this in a box. You did go out and seek some community input into all of this. That was important to you.
Yeah, we learned a lot from other districts that have done this work, and we're certainly not pioneers in this work. I'm proud to say that we're approaching it in some ways that are probably different than other school districts have done. Because ours was very much community driven from the start. We didn't, like you said, cook something internally and then bring it out and say, what do you all think about this? Yeah. Oh, we didn't hear anything? I guess it's good.
Okay.
So yeah, that reversal and really beginning with a community oriented process is really what launched it all.
So let's get into these 5 key categories that you're talking about. So number 1 is academic achievers. That seems like an obvious one.
It sure
As you
does.
talked about, grades are important.
Yeah, it validated, we're a learning organization, and so when we ask the community what are some of the most important things that our graduates should be able to do and know, from every group that we heard from, including our own students, they're like, well, we should know like topics, we should understand content deeply, we should be able to read and write, we should understand math and the complexity of math. And so it was a bit of a test because you never know how that's going to shake out when you ask the community, but it was the number 1 among the thousands of data points we collected. It was the number 1 response, if you pulled it all together, was fundamentally, we're in the business of teaching and learning, and we need to graduate students who are educated and knowledgeable. And so
ready to move
that
on
rose
to
to
the
the
next,
top.
to the next level.
Yeah.
The second one was communication and communicators and connectors. So what does that mean in real life?
Yeah, I think about that in terms of what do you do with all that knowledge you have? Kind of the so what of all of this. So you're deeply knowledgeable about topics and content and things like that. How do you take that from just sitting in your brain and turning it into some kind of active process where you can share, where you can challenge, where you can debate, where you can discuss and actually learn more because you can engage with others as an effective communicator?
Personal architects. Just explain that one a little bit.
Yeah.
I think I know what it means, but how do you see it?
Yeah, this is one that we're really excited. Well, we're excited about all of them, but this is one that really I think stretches us. And it recognizes that our students really need to have agency in the world. They need to understand that a successful life ahead for them is one that doesn't just happen by accident, that happens because they're deliberate, they're engaged in conversations about their future, they understand more and more about the pieces that need to be put into place. And we want them to develop the skills to be able to do that, ask the questions when they're in unknown terrain, but really take on that agency and that ability to advocate for themselves and the future that they want for themselves.
They're in charge of their future and they need to make decisions for it. It's also interesting to point out that they don't have to have it all figured out, and that's part of it. They can ask for help, ask questions, and seek a kind of a community support.
Yeah, it's a perfect time, and this is just about keeping all the doors open and making sure that we don't shut any prematurely or unfairly for students.
Leaders and teammates, that seems like an obvious one.
Yeah, it does, but they go together.
Yeah.
They go together. Sometimes you need to know and have the skills to step in and lead, and sometimes you need to know and have the skills to step in and be a good follower. And so working on both simultaneously, I love that they're linked together in that one. There's not a separate one for leadership. It's really leadership and being a good teammate.
Yeah, you need to know when you can lead, and then sometimes when you can be just a supporting part of something.
Yeah, and I'm not sure people are born that way. I think we have to develop some of those skills in our school and be intentional about it.
And the last one was empowering navigators. Empowered navigators, I should say. What does that mean?
Yeah, so a navigator is making their way with landmarks and touch points, and so we talk about our schools and the time that our students are developing and becoming graduates as times when they also need to learn a lot of other really practical skills. So things like personal health and wellness and staying attentive to your needs as far as that goes, financial literacy, some of those things that might not exist in a traditional single course, but we need to be intentional about offering throughout the year. Nutrition and food safety, you know, those kinds of things. It shouldn't be only because you took a certain class. So we'll be really interested in exploring all of those things that will help people navigate their life with a knowledge base to not fall into traps.
Sure. Quickly, what is the roadmap for this? Like, what do you see happening with these 5 points?
Yeah, this has come at a perfect time, and it was intentional to develop this first with community voice because this will now inform our strategic planning process as a district. So as we identify our critical priorities and our goals over the next 5 years, we're going to make sure that we are attentive to the student that we want to increasingly see walk across our stage in 5 years. So there'll be some really intentional goal setting that's informed by these areas. We'll make our own investments. You know, this helps the things that we say yes to more and more. The community has said this is what they want from us. We need to invest their money in a program that delivers on this. So what will happen is a much more focused and sharpening of steps and actions to bring this into the day-to-day classroom experience for all students.
We look forward to seeing what unfolds over the next
exciting.
few years.
It's exciting, and when we watch those students go across the stage, yes, we'll know they have enough credits, but we're also going to know what else we're saying about them.
Portrait of a Graduate.
That's
Thank
right.
you, David
Thank
Johns.
you.
Appreciate you joining us today from the Green Bay School District.
3 brilliant